So here we are, Masters Week. This is like the birth of the year. This is spring. This is everything. I mean, Augusta, to me, it was always like, okay, here's where my golf season starts. When I was a kid, it was like, okay, you watch the Masters, now you're really going to get serious about playing golf. And so we've got a lot of stuff going on, and then we want to talk to you about that. First of all, make sure that you subscribe and go below and see how you can get registered to win the QI10 driver that we're giving away. Now, if you've already entered, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways to enter. So there's a lot of options that you can use. So make sure you get set up for that so you've got a really good chance to win that driver. It's an amazing driver. I mean, they keep coming up with better and better stuff. It's just amazing what they can do. So let's talk about the Masters for a minute. So like I say, for most people, the Masters week is the start of the season for golf. It's become less and less than that over the years because there's so many tournaments and golf's on TV 12 months a year. But I think for most players, they're still into the season of Augusta. And what does Augusta do? It's this marvelous place, and I've been there multiple times. And I can tell you one of my ultimate memories in golf is to be able to play Augusta with my daughter and my son-in-law. The only thing that would have been better is if my dad would have been there, or if Jack Nicklaus could have been there. That was my ultimate foursome, was to have it be my daughter, Jack Nicklaus, my dad, and me. So I think everybody gets asked that question, you know, what's your favorite foursome to play Augusta or golf course? Augusta usually comes up. Now, why is Augusta such a big deal? Well, first of all, it's been at Augusta since 1934, so that's 90 years. So anybody who's ever watched golf has probably seen parts of the Masters. And in the last 20 years, TV coverage has gotten to where it covers the entire 18 holes. So you have a pretty good idea of every hole, every pin location, the putts. I mean, so you get really invested in it. It's like you've played it before. And then it's watching, how do these guys deal with the golf course? Now, the biggest thing, Augusta, in the last 20 years, from the first time I played it, or 25, is the length. They've gotten it to the point now where there's a couple of holes out there. The ones that really resonate with me is 5, which is a par 4, and then 11, which is a par 4, and 13. I mean, the tee locations, and maybe 7. The tee locations have been moved back so far that when I first played it, number 5, I could drive it up to the top of the hill, even with or past the bunker, and maybe hit an 8 or 9 iron or 7 iron in the green. Now, from those back tees, I can't even reach the bunker on the left, so I have to hit a driver down there. Now I can't see the green. I'm hitting a long iron or a fairway wood into this unbelievable green that has a few pin placements, but if you don't know where you're going and you don't hit the right shot, you can be on the green, and the putt is almost impossible to two-putt. So it's the same with 11. 11 used to be I hit a drive up around the corner, have a long iron to a mid iron into the green. Sometimes if I got it down there, maybe a 7 or an 8 iron. Now from that back tee, again, if I hit a good drive, I get to the fairway, but I can't see the green. I'm hitting a fairway wood. So the length has been incredible. Number 13, you're going to hear a lot about it this year because they moved the tee back, I don't know, 50 yards. To the point where before you could be sitting in the gallery that's watching people hit off 12 tee. You could see the people walk off 12 green down to number 13 tee. You watch them hit. Now they go around a corner and they go back a corridor that goes back about 40 or 50 yards. Now, good or bad, it makes it so as far as these guys hit it, they can't carry the trees on the corner. So they have to hit it out onto the side hill and have longer irons into the green like the old players used to have. You know, so I don't think it's necessarily bad for the game. It makes the golf course play more similar, but they're never going to catch up with the ball. Augusta's never going to be what it was, but it's always going to be Augusta. You know, and then you play the last few holes. I mean, there's so many iconic things that have happened on 15, 16, 17, and 18, that finishing hole. It's just amazing. And for me, the first time I went there, the biggest difference from TV is how much elevation change there is. I mean, when you go off 10 tee and you go down to 10 green, and you look over at where 18 tee is and it comes up, I mean, seriously, 10T going down, you could build a nice little ski hole on that. I mean, it wouldn't be a severe vertical, but it'd be enough to challenge some pretty good skiers. I mean, you get enough, there's a lot of drop off. And you're standing on number 1 tee and you look down and you can see down to 2 green, you can see 3 tee, you can see, you know, so 7 green, it goes down into this beautiful canyon where all these trees are. So it's just a majestic, unbelievable place, and it's so quiet in there. You go through those gates and it's like you went back in time, but at the same time you walk through the clubhouse, you look at everything, it's brand new. So it's like something that was built 100 years ago, 90 years ago, and it's the exact same architecture, the same carpets, the same doorways, but they look like they just finished it. It looks brand new. Everything looks brand new. So if you ever have a chance to go there, you need to do it. It's an amazing experience. There's very few, maybe comparable experiences in golf. I don't know that there's anything any better than that. So now you got the tournament coming up this week. And what have we got? We've got all of this turmoil with LIV and everything. And the Masters seems to kind of bring everybody back together again, because they allow, there's a lot of the LIV players, you know, Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Sergio Garcia, that have won the Masters that are going to be back there playing that are on LIV. So it's a kind of a combination week, and you get to see all those guys playing. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that all gets integrated in the future. You know, how all the majors work, how the tour really works. What is the tour? Is it a one tour that's kind of all integrated and they all have a piece of it? Is it 2 separate tours but somehow they integrate? Boy, I don't know. It's going to take more than me to figure all that out. I just know I love watching golf. I love majors, and I love the history behind them. You know, that's the part that worries me, is that all of a sudden you could have golf all over the world and big tournaments with a lot of money, but you don't have the Masters, you don't have the US Open, you don't have the British Open with all of the history behind those tournaments, which makes them iconic. You know, it's just, you wait for them. You know, there's no way they're ever going to duplicate the feel that you have. I haven't played in the Masters, but I've played US Open, PGAs. I mean, so I know what it's like to be in a major, and especially on iconic golf courses. I played the US Open at Pebble Beach, and I also played it at Shinnecock Hills. And it's an unbelievable experience. I've played Pebble many times, played Shinnecock many times, not in the US Open. And it wasn't even close to the same field. So it's really interesting where golf is going to go. Now let's talk for a minute about, you know, who's going to win the Masters. I mean, I've kind of studied all these guys relative to watching them on TV, watching their numbers. Obviously, Scottie Scheffler and Wyndham Clark, their games fit that place. I'm not so sure I wouldn't pick Wyndham Clark over Scottie right now. Why? Scottie's on a run. He was on a really big run. He won twice, almost won 3 times. He's taken a week off. A lot of expectation. I mean, he seems to not be affected by expectation, but I got to think that there's some of that there. Wyndham won the US Open. His game fits what Augusta wants. You know, his putting has come up dramatically. So, you know, as favorites, you got to pick one of those 2 guys. But when you go, who do I think, who's kind of a long shot, if you want to call them long shots? You look at Ludwig Oberg. This guy is unbelievable. Now, his game, the power game, the irons, where you can do, I mean, that's kind of what Tiger had when he came there the first time. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him do really, really well. The other one, Russell Henley. Everybody kind of overlooks. This guy has been so consistent for the last 3, 4, 5 months. He putts the ball unbelievable. It doesn't drive it that far, I mean, relative to the other guys. I'll talk about that in a minute, but his iron game is amazing. He's very, very precise with his irons, and he putts it really well, short game. What people don't realize about Augusta is that you have to drive it well. And I would encourage you all to go to, we've got a video out about how to master the Masters. And there's 3 areas that you have to have. You can't just drive it anywhere on that golf course, because it depends on where the pin locations are. If you drive it in the fairway, but you're on the wrong side of the fairway, because of the way the greens are sloped, all of a sudden your angle is such that there's almost no way you can get the ball in close to the hole. So then you have to know the greens well enough from the wrong side of the fairway to know where to hit it. So when the ball funnels, it funnels into a place where you can get it up and down, or 2-putt. Because you can just say, oh, there's the pin, I'm going to go at it, which is what I did the first time I played there. And I hit a lot of good shots, but the hills repelled the ball. I get up there to my next shot, can't get it close, can't 2-putt it. So Augusta 1 is a very, very struggling or challenging driving golf course. Number 2, you got to play your irons well into specific locations, and what makes it even harder is you never get flat lies. So you have to be really good from uneven lies, because uneven lies affect trajectory, curve, and everything on a golf ball. So that golf course, not only are the greens hilly, but the fairways are hilly. So you're always off uneven lies. Now you get on the greens, and now you got to be a really good lag putter. Now, sure, you got to putt good from inside of 10, 50. Everybody has to do that. They know that's a given. But the guys that are really good lag putters, because you're going to get some putts, I don't care how good you hit it, you're going to get some 25, 30, 45, 50 footers that you have to putt up a big hill and over to the left and let it swoop down into the... So the guys that are really good lag putters, which comes to Henley, and those kind of guys, I think have a really good chance. Cameron Young's one of these guys that's got all the game. He's just been hanging around. Now, one that's kind of a sentimental favorite for me, Denny McCarthy. Last week, the guy birdies 8 of the last 9 holes, or 7 in a row. Birdies 10, then he pars 11, then goes 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now he loses. And you say, how's that going to motivate him? Well, I just think he's the kind of guy that he's going, my game is right on, and I showed how good I can play. He made some amazing putts and made some great up and downs. That's what you got to have at Augusta. So he's kind of a dark horse pick. As far as the Europeans go, Tommy Fleetwood, you got to pick him every year. I mean, the guy drives it, hits it well, putts it well. I think he's going to have a chance. Now, let's go into the LIV Tour. Let's take a look at some of our favorites in the LIV Tour. So you got Jon Rahm, Dustin Johnson, and Brooks Koepka. How have those guys been playing in LIV? Well, Jon Rahm's 4. They haven't had many events money-wise. Dustin, 24. Brooks Koepka, 45. Here's the deal. Koepka seems to always bring it to the table in majors. That place he loves. He's had a chance a couple of times to win. You know, I think of the LIV Tour players, him and Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm now has a big thing to deal with because they've already got him in the press room. You know, all of the stuff he said, I'll never leave the PGA Tour, I'll never leave the PGA Tour, and all of a sudden, for $350 million, he left the PGA Tour. So it's back to, well, you know, you've got plenty of money. What do you need $350 million more for? Now you're a LIV guy playing the tour. Now we don't want a LIV guy to win the tour, to win the Masters, you know, and they're, who knows? I mean, all of the emotion that these guys deal with, it's interesting, you know, but at the same time, a lot of these players, the unfortunate part of golf, I understand tradition, and I'm a big traditionalist. But if you've already won the Masters or you've already run the U.S. Open and someone comes along and offers you a guarantee of $350 million, that's not a lifetime. That's your lifetime, your kid's lifetime, and your kid's kid's lifetime of financial security. So good or bad? Are they good people or bad people? You know, there's so many things, so many decisions made based on money. I hope that they get this whole thing together where it's cohesive, and it all promotes the best players being in as many tournaments as possibly can, that's sponsors. You start losing the best players in the world, the sponsors start, why would we sponsor a tournament? So more of that happens, and everybody's trying to get into those 4 or 5 majors from all over the world. I think that would be ideal. Can they do it? I'm sure they can. How are they going to? I'm not sure. But anyways, it's going to be really interesting to watch the whole thing. I do want to talk about one player here right at the very end. I watch golf swings like crazy. And, you know, I think I'm a pretty good teacher. I've learned a lot about the human body. I've learned a lot about swings, and I've learned a lot about what makes swings work and what makes them not work. And so when I see even superstars, and I see them make a swing change or have something going on, and it relates to something they struggle with on the golf course, it's always interesting to me. It's like, wow, I wish I could talk to them for just 10 or 15 minutes and say, okay, what are you dealing with? How are you trying to fix it? Because I know that they probably know, okay, this is going on and I want this to fix, but my interest is, what's the fix? Because my history has been, most of the time, teachers are fixing effects. So you're taking the club too much to the inside, don't take it so much to the inside. Why do you take it to the inside? You're hitting down on the ball too hard. Hit more level. Why are you hitting down? What is there something physically, there's something in your grip, is there something in your consciousness that makes you do that? And if we fix something, that stuff goes away. So 90% of the time in people, including myself, when I see a swing flaw, I start looking at, okay, what could be causing this, either from a concept perspective or a physical issue. Now, Rory, this last week in Texas, they had an interview with him. It was really interesting because I've watched Rory for a long time. Unbelievably talented. I mean, this guy's absolutely incredible. But even at the very best, you can have little idiosyncrasies in your swing that can cause, under pressure, certain things to happen. He's always tended to struggle with his wedges. Ball runs up the face a little bit, he pulls them a little, the club gets a little behind him, same with his driver. Well, he made a comment in Texas that him and his coach were starting to work on the first part, his takeaway, to change his takeaway, thinking that if they got his takeaway, got the club started back correctly, that it would fix a lot of the things he was working on. I'm going, hallelujah. I've been watching that for 5, 6, 7 years. Now, what I don't know is what they identified that takeaway to be. But I did watch him at Texas and saw some things relative to what he was doing in his takeaway, what it caused when he did his change of directions, how it made the club fall. And it made it better than it was before, to where he doesn't fight the club as much. So it's a lot easier for him to get the club face on the ball, control the trajectory, and control the direction. Now, at that level, just a little bit of angle off and a little where the face is not exactly where it needs to be, and the trajectory changes just a little bit, and the spin changes a couple hundred RPMs, all of a sudden your distance control's off. So these guys are so precise with those shots, and any little thing through the ball that causes an inconsistency where the ball isn't catching the face right where they want to, with the angle of the face right where they want to, and the angle of approach right, because you got to get all of those to get the trajectory and spin to get the exact distance control. And he struggled with that. It looks to me like he's moving more towards some things that are going to fix that. Now, like I say, being the teacher, I'm in the study of the game, I watch all these players, and I just sit there and I go, okay, I wonder what he's working on. I wonder what he fights. I wonder what he'd like to fix. And whatever they'd like to fix, which most of them are trying to fix something, how are they trying to do it? That's always been just a fascination for me. I'd like to sit in some of these coaches' pockets and just listen and look at it relative to what I see and hear what they're doing and see, well, okay, where are they coming from? Why are they doing that? Anyways, thanks for being a part of Malaska Golf and watching this video. We're going to try to do some podcasts and some things. I've got a lot to offer, a lot of questions I could answer. Look for that in the future with Malaska Golf. And go into the descriptions below. Make sure that you're signed up for the QI10. There's multiple ways to do it. If you've already gone, go in there again, share the stuff. The more you do that, the more we understand what we can do to help you as players. And more than anything, enjoy the Masters. It's spring. It's new life. It's let's get out there and play great golf.